The iPhone has come a long way since its debut in 2007. What started out as a 3.5-inch touchscreen has now become a 6.9-inch screen with no home button, a dynamic island on the top, and an advanced internal chipset that mimics the speeds of modern-day laptops. The transformation has been remarkable. Over the course of nearly 2 decades, Apple has released more than 40 different iPhone models. And while the progression hasn't always been linear, there's a reason these devices have remained cultural icons year after year. Today, we're going to rank every single one of them, from the groundbreaking advancements to the disappointing ones, to figure out which models truly deserve their place in smartphone history, and which ones probably should have been reconsidered. So, the way this is going to work is I've broken down the entire iPhone lineup into 9 categories. And within each category, I'll be ranking them from S tier all the way down to D tier. S tier is reserved for phones that genuinely changed the industry or represented such a significant leap forward that they deserve to be remembered as special. A tier encompasses excellent phones that were the best you could buy at their time, even if they didn't revolutionize anything. B tier means good but compromised in some meaningful way. C tier represents phones that were disappointing or became outdated too quickly. And D tier is for genuine mistakes, although we'll see if Apple actually produced any of those. Now that we got that out of the way, it's time to start ranking them. Let's get right into it. The first category we have is the original era. The original iPhone from 2007 is where this all began. And there's really no getting around the fact that this device belongs in the S tier. Yes, it lacked 3G connectivity. Yes, it couldn't run third-party apps initially. And yes, you couldn't even copy and paste text. But by modern standards at this time, this thing was revolutionary. It introduced an entirely new category of computing that would go on to define the next 2 decades of technology. Without it, we're not even having this conversation. Then the iPhone 3G arrived in 2008, bringing faster data speeds and the App Store, which turned out to be arguably more important than the hardware itself. The iPhone 3GS followed in 2009 with improved performance and a better camera. These devices were important stepping stones and they sold very well in their time. But the plastic build started to feel dated. The screens were still tiny and the functionality was becoming limited to other Android phones that came out at that same time. So both the 3G and the 3GS land in the B tier. Historically significant, but objectively not great phones relatively to what was out there in the market. Next, we have what I call the design revolution. The iPhone 4 in 2010 was the first time Apple really figured out what an iPhone should look and feel like. The glass and stainless steel design was stunning, and the Retina display was such a leap forward in screen quality that it made every other smartphone look blurry by comparison. Sure, antenna gate was embarrassing, and holding the phone wrong could actually degrade your signal, but the overall package was so compelling that most people overlooked it. This is a clear tier A device. The iPhone 4S in 2011 kept that same excellent design and introduced Siri, which for all its limitations represented Apple's first serious push into voice assistance. It's essentially the iPhone 4 refined, which means it also earns A tier status. 2012's iPhone 5 brought a taller screen, a lightning connector that replaced the aging 30-pin dock, and a gorgeous aluminum unibody that felt premium in a way previous iPhones hadn't quite achieved yet. This phone aged gracefully and remains one of the better looking iPhones Apple has produced. An A tier without hesitation. The iPhone 5S in 2013 added Touch ID, which turned out to be far more useful than anyone initially expected, along with a faster processor and an improved camera. This is another A tier device for sure. Then we have the iPhone 5C from 2013, and this is where we encounter our first real problem. Apple's attempt to create a more affordable iPhone by wrapping iPhone 5 internals in colorful plastic resulted in a phone that wasn't actually affordable enough to attract budget buyers, but felt too cheap to appeal to people who wanted a premium device. It wasn't broken, but it was poorly positioned and ultimately unnecessary. So therefore, C tier feels pretty appropriate here. Next up is the Plus era and compromised designs. The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus in 2014 represent an interesting case study in commercial success versus actual quality. These are the best-selling iPhones of all time, largely because they finally gave customers larger screens, which we all had been requesting at the time. But the execution was flawed. The design was bland compared to previous iPhones. Those antenna lines were ugly, and worst of all, the phones were prone to bending in people's pockets. Bendgate was a real issue that Apple initially denied before quietly reinforcing future models. Despite their sales figures, these phones were compromised, so B tier for both. The iPhone 6s and 6s Plus in 2015 addressed some structural issues and introduced 3D touch, which was genuinely useful if it never quite caught on the way Apple hoped. These are solid phones that don't really excel at anything in particular, so B tier feels right for them. The first iPhone SE in 2016 deserves more credit than it typically gets. By taking the beloved iPhone 5s design and filling it in with the iPhone 6 level performance, Apple created something for people who genuinely preferred smaller phones and didn't want to compromise on specs. It knew exactly what it was trying to be and executed that vision perfectly. A tier for understanding its audience. iPhone 7 and 7 Plus marked the controversial removal of the headphone jack, a decision that felt premature at the time, but ultimately proved to be where the industry was heading anyway. The 7 Plus in particular introduced dual cameras that significantly improved photography, and both models added water resistance. The regular iPhone 7 lands in B tier, where the 7 Plus earns A tier status for its superior camera system. So now it's time for the notch era. 2017 was a transitional year. The iPhone 8 and 8 Plus were solid phones that added wireless charging and glass backs to enable it, but they felt like placeholders for what was coming. They're both B tier devices, good but immediately overshadowed. What overshadowed them was the iPhone X, Apple's most significant redesign since the original. The elimination of the home button, the introduction of Face ID, edge-to-edge OLED display with that polarizing notch. This was the future of the iPhone, and everybody knew it immediately. You can draw a straight line from the iPhone X to every iPhone that's come since. This is an S tier device, the second most important iPhone after the original. Now we enter in the iteration and refinement era. The iPhone XS and XS Max in 2018 were what the 10 should have been. Refined versions with better performance, improved cameras, and better durability. Both are A tier phones, with the XS Max being particularly impressive for people who wanted the largest possible screen. The iPhone XR was Apple's attempt to bring back the iPhone X design language to a lower price point, and it largely succeeded. The LCD screen instead of OLED was a compromise, and the single camera limited photography somewhat, but the battery life was excellent and the overall experience was still premium enough to satisfy most users. A tier for delivering a flagship experience at a more accessible price. 2019 brought the iPhone 11 series. The regular iPhone 11 improved upon the XR's formula with better cameras, and it came in at an even more reasonable price. A tier easily. The 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max introduced triple camera systems, significantly better battery life, and those matte finishes that felt more premium than the glossy backs of previous models. Both are at the top of A tier, and the 11 Pro Max in particular makes a strong case for S tier consideration, though I'm going to keep them in A tier. For the next era, I was debating on what to call it, but for the sake of it, let's just call it the 5G transition. The iPhone 12 series in 2020 brought 5G connectivity and a return to flat edge designs that called back to the iPhone 4 and 5. The iPhone 12 mini was an admirable attempt to serve people who wanted truly small phones, but the battery life suffered too much to make it a complete success. B tier for good intentions and flawed execution. Now, the regular iPhone 12 was excellent. Great cameras, beautiful design, MagSafe, OLED across the board, A tier without a question. The 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, with their additional camera capabilities and stainless steel builds, are also up at the A tier. Though I have to say, the Pro Max's camera system was genuinely impressive, enough to nearly justify S tier placement. 2020 also brought the second generation iPhone SE, which put iPhone 11 performance into an iPhone iPhone 8 body for $400. For people who needed a reliable iPhone without spending flagship money, this was nearly perfect. A tier for exceptional value. So now I actually wanted to go back to the Refinement era because I believe these next set of iPhones deserve that name. The iPhone 13 series in 2021 focused on refinement rather than revolution. Smaller notches, better cameras, and significantly improved battery life across the board. The 13 mini had better internals that the iPhone 12 mini still struggled with. The battery life could barely last till the end of the day, which was the biggest complaint. The 13 mini had better internals than the iPhone 12 mini, which still struggled with battery life and could barely last till the end of the day. This was the biggest complaint with the 12 mini. The regular iPhone 13 was a genuinely excellent phone that most people would be completely satisfied with, and there's not much to say about it. A tier. The 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max added ProMotion, 120 Hz displays, which made the interface noticeably smoother, and their camera systems were among the best available in any smartphone. Both are top tier A tier phones, though I'm reserving S tier for truly revolutionary devices. The third generation iPhone SE arrived in 2022, adding 5G to the same aging iPhone 8 design. By this point, that design was looking genuinely dated, and while the phone functioned fine, it was hard to get excited about it. B tier for being competent but uninspiring. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus represented such a minimal upgrade over the 13 series that they felt unnecessary. Both of these land in the B tier. They're fine phones, but there almost was no compelling reason to upgrade if you already had an iPhone 13. The iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, however, were a different story. Dynamic Island transformed the notch into something actually useful. The always-on display was well implemented, and the 48 megapixel camera represented a genuine leap in photo quality. These phones felt like meaningful upgrades in a way the regular 14 models didn't. Both earned S tier placement for advancing what a flagship iPhone could be. Now we're getting into the newer iPhones entering the current generation. 2023's iPhone 15 and 15 Plus brought Dynamic Island and USB-C to the non-Pro models, along with the previous year's Pro processor. These are both solid A-tier phones. Not revolutionary, but genuinely good devices that most people would be happy with. The iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max introduced titanium builds, the action button, and the A17 Pro chip. The Pro Max's 5x optical zoom was particularly impressive. Both are S-tier devices that represent the peak of what modern iPhones can be. And I know what you're about to say. Didn't these phones heat up like crazy? And yes, you are right, but Apple did fix this quickly by pushing out an update that was causing them to heat up for no reason. Though some people still complained about heat due to the titanium material. I personally never had an issue with it, so I can't really say it was something that bothered me. The iPhone 16 and 16 Plus received the action button, improved cameras, and the A18 chip. Both are A-tier phones that deliver excellent experiences without breaking new ground. The iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max are excellent phones with camera control buttons and even better photography capabilities, but they were quickly overshadowed by what came next. So I'm placing them in the A tier. And that brings us to 2025, where Apple shook things up more dramatically than they have in years, entering the latest generation. The iPhone 17 series introduced 4 distinct models, and for the first time since the original iPhone and iPhone 10, we're seeing changes significant enough to genuinely shift the landscape. The iPhone 17 is the base model that finally closes the gap with the Pro line in meaningful ways. For $799, you get a 6.3-inch display with ProMotion, 120 Hz refresh rate, and always-on functionality. Features that were Pro exclusive for years. The display hits 3000 nits peak brightness. Apple doubled the base storage to 256 gigabytes at the same price point. The ultra-wide camera jumped from 12 megapixels to 48 megapixels, and battery life increased to 30 hours. It also got some of the new features, such as the new 18 megapixel front camera with center stage that automatically adjusts for group shots. Then the dual capture feature lets you record from both cameras simultaneously. simultaneously. The A19 chip delivers solid performance with 8 GB of RAM, making it an excellent phone that finally gives non-pro buyers features they've wanted for years. This lands solidly in A tier, possibly the best value proposition Apple's offered in the standard iPhone line in a long time. Then we have the iPhone Air, which is the one I'm holding right now during this video. And this is going to be controversial. At $999, the iPhone Air is an engineering phenomenon. It's 5.6 millimeters thin, making it the thinnest iPhone ever made. And it weighs just 165 grams. It has a gorgeous 6.5-inch display with ProMotion. It's a stunning piece of hardware that showcases what Apple's engineering teams can accomplish when they're pushed to the absolute limit. But to achieve that thinness, Apple made compromises that are hard to overlook at a $999 price point. The iPhone Air has only a single megapixel rear camera, no ultra wide, no telephoto beyond a 2x digital crop. The battery is 3,149 milliamp hours, which in real life barely lasts till the end of the day. And early sales have been disappointing, enough that Apple reportedly delayed the next generation model. It's a beautifully executed phone, but it asks for too much money for too many compromises. Therefore, I'm putting it in the B tier. It's not broken, and if thinness is your absolute priority, it delivers. But for most people, it's not the right choice at this price. The iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max are where Apple really delivered. These phones feature a revolutionary aluminum unibody design with an integrated vapor chamber cooling system that provides 40% better sustained performance compared to the iPhone 16 Pro. The new camera plateau design spans the upper back, housing a triple camera system where every sensor is 48 megapixels. The telephoto lens delivers 8 times optical quality zoom with a 56% larger sensor, giving you a 16 times total optical zoom range from 0.5 times to 8 times, the longest reach ever on an iPhone. The A19 Pro chip with 12 gigabytes of RAM handles everything you throw at it, and professional video features like ProRes RAW and Apple Log 2 make these genuine tools for content creators. Battery life is exceptional, 33 hours for the Pro and 39 hours for the Pro Max, with the Pro Max offering up to 2 terabytes of storage for people who need it. The colors shifted dramatically to cosmic orange, deep blue, and silver with no black option for the first time. These phones don't just incrementally improve on what came before, they fundamentally change what's possible in terms of sustained performance and camera capability. Both the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max earn S-tier placement. These represent the absolute peak of what a smartphone can be right now. So now we're done, let's do a recap of it all. S-tier includes the original iPhone, the iPhone 10, the 14 Pro and Pro Max, the 15 Pro and Pro Max, and the 17 Pro and Pro Max. The A tier has the 4, 4S, 5, 5S, first SE, 7 Plus, 10S, 10S Max, 10R, the entire 11 series, the 12, 12 Pro, 12 Pro Max, second gen SE, the 13, 13 Pro and Pro Max, the 15, 15 Plus, the 16 series Pro models, and lastly, the iPhone 17. So next we have the B tier, which contains the 3G, 6, 6 Plus, 6S, 6S Plus, 7, 8, 8 Plus, the mini versions, the third gen SE, the 14, the 14 Plus, and lastly, the iPhone Air. In the C tier, we only have one, which is the iPhone 5C, and the D tier remains empty. That's every iPhone ranked. Your tier list probably looks different, and that's perfectly reasonable. These rankings are definitely subjective, and what matters to one person might not matter to another. Feel free to share your own rankings in the comments below, and if there's enough interest, we can tackle other smartphone lineups in future videos. I hope you enjoyed watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.